of vegetable growers self-setting on fire started off the revolution in Tunisia. Now we have Egypt as almost on the edge of the brink of democracy. Ben Ali, former leader of Tunisia, has had a stroke and is in Saudi Arabia and is now close to death. We are having revolutions in Libya, in Bahrain, even in Yemen, the backyard of the Bin Ladens. Is it possible that Saudi Arabia could be next? The Americans don't seem to know what to do, nor do the Muslim Brotherhood, and nor do Al Qaeda. None of the major powers seem to know what's going on, except the European Union. I believe it was the European Union and Great Britain that was behind these revolutions, if there was any outside influence at all. Or maybe it was just that this was the first cyber war in which the population, the civilians, as the powers that be like to call us, or the citizens, as I, Info Kemp, like to call people, because we are citizens and we do have the power to change our futures. We can imagine and we can act on them, on the imaginations that we have about changing the possibility of our future. And that's what I believe has happened. I believe that there is a grassroots movement throughout the Middle East and Iran which seeks to bring about democracy. Now, with the Arab and Iranian possibility of revolution in the air and democratic accountability coming about, a YouTube user called Kandahar, who is an Islamist, describes himself as an Islamist, sent me these questions, which I'll try to answer. Are you a Jew? No, I am not a Jew. I am a Nordic Celtic Englishman. I am a European. Are you a Zionist? I am far from being a Zionist, although I do believe that there should be a second Jewish social democratic state in the region of the Horn of Africa, since this was the original homeland of the Jews. But I am very much against the Likud party of Israel. Are you ready to continue supporting Israel if its existence is threatened and if it might spark a clash of civilizations? Well, I believe that if Israel was threatened, it has powerful allies such as the United States who would step in. But I also believe that the Iranians also have powerful allies in the event of the Chinese. But he has forgotten that the power of the most powerful state in the world is the European Union, and it would step in to negotiate and prevent any war happening in the first place. Number 4. What will the long-term consequences of the Iraq War be? Well, I believe that the Iraq War showed that a dictator could be removed. However bad the Iraq War was, and however much I disagree with how it was done, rather than the way that it should have happened, I'm undecided as to whether it should have happened or not, but on how it was done in a bad way. But it did show to people in Egypt, it showed to people in Tunisia, that the old way of doing things, of just accepting dictators, was over. And the fall of Saddam's statue did make a lasting consequence throughout the Middle East. It will also probably lead to a world that is conceivable where the Middle East could be in a union with each other, and the European Union. And that's where I see the future of the Middle East. Will Americans win in Afghanistan? I believe the Americans must win in Afghanistan, but it would be foolish of us to make Afghanistan the centre of our campaign. The centre of our campaign must be the eventual overthrow of the Saudi and Bin Laden crime families, and they are based in Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Maybe this revolution will do it for us. But if not, then I'm not against intervention by Europe and America together with Great Britain to remove the Saudi royal family and the Bin Ladens. I would like to see them buried 6 feet under where they belong. Will Al Qaeda be defeated and finished? I think I just said what I believe. I believe that they will be eventually, but it will take maybe 100 years um, to do this because there are other feudalistic crime families who will help them, and who also have to be outlawed, and some of them are in the West. Um, will Osama be captured alive or dead or not at all? I believe he will not be captured at all, alive or dead. He has people close to him who are ordered to kill him if he will be captured to prevent Al Qaeda falling for the loss of one person. Al Qaeda is the Bin Laden crime family's private army. It also has the ISI of Pakistan and other leading organisations in the Islamic Jihad movements, which identify with his Wahhabist brand of Islam as opposed to the Iranian brand of Shia Islam. Um, Iran and Al Qaeda are fundamentally enemies. What will the US position and influence be in the Muslim world in 2015? I think it will be negligible after these revolutions. I believe that the European Union will step in to fill the vacuum, and it will cause the creation of a European Union inspired Middle Eastern Union and North African Union, which will be a buffer against immigration from Africa and Asia as well, because those countries will be democracies and they will be too prosperous for anyone to be thinking of moving onwards into Europe itself. I think you'll see the resurgence and renaissance of European culture. Do present pro-Western regimes continue till 2020, or will there be a definite anti-American governments? Well, you say pro-Western as though the West is one thing, Kandahar0. The West is not one thing anymore. The West is America and Europe. And I believe that you will see pro-European democracies as opposed to American-led or inspired dictatorships, which has been the previous thing. And I think most Americans, incidentally, will be very happy to see that happen, because it will mean that American blood is not and treasure is not shed in wars to prop up the Saudi royal family. The Saudi royal family and the Zionists in Israel favourite song is always Onward European Soldiers, or Onward Christian Soldiers, I should say, in the case of the Americans. What is the future of Islam? I think Islam will organise itself into two different factions, Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims, at the extreme margins of Islam. But in the centre, you will see a moderate Islam, a democratic Islam, and the democratic part of that, the deep learning of Islam, which conveyed the Roman and Greek teachings into Europe itself through literature, Islamic literature, and medicine and science, as there was a BBC series on that subject, shows that Islam can have a renaissance. It can be rational. It can be democratic. And that's what I believe the future of Islam will be. How it will be organised? Well, I believe it will be organised on the basis of either democratic moderately Islamic secular republics, or constitutional monarchies in the Gulf region of Arabia, with democratic parliaments on the basis of the Westminster system that is used in the UK. I also believe that Islam will be eventually pushed out of Europe, I'm afraid to say, but I do not want Islam in Europe. So there you and me will not see eye to eye. But I would wish Islam well if it was not to try and carry the sword and the flag throughout the world. If it maintains itself in the Middle East and Africa and Western Central Asia, then it has my blessing. Thank you for listening.